What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about sending the military into blue states to make them behave, getting Gavin Newsom under control, getting J.P. Pritzker under control.
What are you
making
talking
sure
about?
What's up, Black Coffee fam? Welcome back to the channel where we keep it real, raw, and caffeinated. Today we're diving into something that's been brewing in the media pot for a while, and it's time to spill the tea, or in this case, the black coffee. We're talking about the hypocrisy and, frankly, the meltdown moments from certain news networks, specifically CNN, during the lead up to Donald Trump's presidency. You know, the folks who love to preach about truth, objectivity, and all that jazz.
I don't want to be bringing back waterboarding. I don't want to be a country that tortures people, especially if we're the kind of country that's going to be using the military against our own citizens. This kind of thing concerns me.
What do you mean use against our own citizens?
I'm talking about
You
sending...
said blue states behave. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about sending the military into blue states to make them behave, getting Gavin Newsom under control, getting J.P. Pritzker under control.
What are you
making
talking
sure
about? What do you mean? Like sitting into the state capitol to commandeer the state government?
Let's rewind a bit. Remember the narrative that CNN and others were pushing about Trump using the military against American citizens. It was wild stuff. They tried to paint a picture of the U.S. military being sent into blue states to make them behave and put elected officials under control. It sounds like something out of a dystopian movie, not real life. This was a narrative pushed hard, despite being called ridiculous.
13 service members' families, the time of day.
I'm sorry, but Donald Trump hates veterans. He called them suckers and losers. He did. He absolutely, despite, he has his whole life. He has his entire life.
I know you're super emotional. I just...
Of course I am. I'm terrified.
I'm telling you the political reality is that when they made that decision...
It doesn't matter. But you don't admit that Donald Trump hates veterans. You don't admit it. You deny a man, Chief John Kelly, a Marine. You say he lied.
You're still campaigning.
You say he lied. It's not over. It'll never be over.
We need to ask ourselves, what was the actual evidence of this? The lack of evidence was conveniently ignored while they painted this picture of Trump as some kind of dictator in waiting. It's as if they were trying to create a self-fulfilling prophecy using fear and speculation rather than facts. But it wasn't just about the military. There was also this weird narrative about Trump hating veterans. They even brought up the suckers and losers claim and made it seem like he despised all veterans.
Well, I mean, I can read a chart and I can read a poll. I guess you can't. But the reality is when he made that decision...
Your petty insults are so weak, dude. You have no idea. Like, I don't even understand if you hear yourself talking.
Look,
you can laugh all you want, but like, I can't read a chart. Like, it's just so hacky. It's so uninteresting.
Look, the reason that we brought this up is because...
Now, I'm no Trump fanboy, but it seems clear there was an agenda at play here. Steady said claim seems to fly in the face of Trump's actual actions as president to support military personnel and veterans. The political reality is when the decision to use the term suckers and losers was made by Trump's administration. The network tried to twist it to mean he does not like military.
I know your favorite pastime is to come out here and talk over me, but just please.
I care about the facts. I care about the facts.
The reality is, if you talk to anybody in the energy business, if you talk to anybody in
he says things that are wrong, and I interrupt him and correct him because our job is to inform our audience.
I'll just wait.
Hang on 1 second.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Finish
No.
your point.
Look, I play this game every time we come out here. The legitimate answer is, he's going to do stuff on energy. He's going to take regulatory shackles off of the energy producers. If you talk to anybody in the energy business who produces, refines, deals with pipelines, this administration, Democrats in Congress, have put shackles on what they can do.
Here's where the hypocrisy really starts to bubble. These are the same networks that claim to be the gatekeepers of truth, yet they were pushing narratives that at best were stretched to their limits and at worst were completely made up. Where was the journalistic integrity? Where was the concern about not stirring up unnecessary division and fear?
Okay, our troops have had a hard time doing it in Afghanistan. Trying to ask them to sort through who's who and implement a policy like this, here in the United States is like nothing we've ever seen. Actually, I mean, hold on, maybe the only precedent we have is internment camps during World War II against Japanese Americans, but there's not a military precedent for sorting through who on the Upper East Side is an illegal and who's not. And you're asking a 19-year-old right, holding a weapon, who signed up to serve his or her country, to thrust themselves into maybe the most fraught political topic that we've got in this country.
Let's talk about Scott Jennings for a moment, who, according to the source, is considered a conservative voice on CNN. He's praised for holding the network together. Now, why is it that the only person holding CNN together is the conservative? Is this not a telling indication of a significant slant in the network's content?
People want a solution, but they don't necessarily want that one.
You twice now insinuated that Trump's going to send the military to round up American citizens, which is totally false. There are 1.3 to 1.6 million illegal immigrants in this country today who have already received deportation orders from a court. You can start there. There's another population, as Mark said, that have either committed violent crimes in the United States or committed violent crimes where they came from. You can also do that. That has nothing to do with the people in your neighborhood, has nothing to do with the person in your office, and has nothing to do with whatever the hell you're talking about. It has to do with getting people out of the country who do not belong.
The network called Scott hacky and uninteresting, yet the source states he has won Man of the Year and that CNN loves Scott Jennings. It is a sign of an echo chamber. This is a clear case of an ideological agenda taking precedence over honest reporting. And let's not forget the economic fear-mongering. They tried to scare people into thinking that deporting people with existing deportation orders or who have committed crimes would somehow send the economy into a tailspin. They tried to spin this sky is falling narrative. What the source indicates is that they knew that they were exaggerating this narrative. What's even more infuriating is that they tried to connect Trump's policies to increasing inflation.
Inflation will go up. One of the reasons inflation has been lower in the last few years is that we've had a lot more immigration.
Did it go up when Obama deported 5 million people? I think concerns about this are overblown. We've got 1.6 million people with deportation orders right now and another violent population. I mean, I don't think that alone is going to drive up the cost of groceries in the short term. And people want it to happen.
You don't think mass deportations will affect the labor force or agriculture industry?
Or building houses to bring down the
even
cost
if
of
you're
groceries?
pro it, you have to consider that. I mean,
I think if you exit people that have already have deportation orders from the court, and you exit people who are violent criminals, that is in no way, shape, or form going to hurt the economy, but it just might make people feel a little safer about their communities.
Way more than that.
The source tells us that, in reality, a large amount of immigration can correlate to lower inflation. These arguments, according to the source, were presented by many left-leaning media outlets. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. The source also highlights how the mainstream media, including CNN, was completely blindsided by Trump's election victory. They were out of touch with the silent majority of Americans, the working class people who felt ignored and insulted. They dismissed the issues that resonated with these voters, like the economy and immigration.
This is a mandate. He's won the national popular vote for the first time for a Republican, for the first time since 2004. This is a big deal. This isn't backing into the office. This is a mandate to do what you said you were going to do. Get the economy working again for regular working class Americans, fix immigration, try to get crime under control, try to reduce the chaos in the world. This is a mandate from the American people to do that. I think I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of just the regular old working class American, the anonymous American who has been crushed, insulted, condescended to. They're not garbage. They're not nice. They're just regular people who get up and go to work every day and are trying to make a better life for their kids, and they feel like they have been told to just shut up.
Instead of trying to understand why so many people voted for Trump, they just doubled down on the negative narratives. It's a classic example of being out of touch with reality. They simply could not believe the independent route that Trump was taking, opting for going straight to podcasts, like the Joe Rogan Experience.
I think the Democrats in this election made men feel like that the patriarchy is over, boys, and we're going to put you in the back seat for a while, and you're just going to have to accept it, without any thought to the ramifications of telling people who are out honestly trying to make a living, provide for their families, be good husbands, be good fathers. When you tell people who are doing their level best that either A, it's not good enough, or B, you're part of the problem, what do you expect? And then finally, as a political tactic, you know, the attempt to put walls on the ticket, and that was going to somehow solve all of the problems that had been built up for years, was ridiculous, because it turns out walls was the last person that men wanted to hear from. And I remember at the beginning of that whole campaign, when they put him on, I sat right here, and people were like, oh, they got camouflaged hats. They're going to be wearing them in the deer stands this fall. And I think to your point that you just made, that was not, that idea that was not formulated by a bunch of dudes who actually go deer hunting. It was come up with by a bunch of people who've never met a dude that actually goes deer hunting.
What we're seeing here, fam, is a pattern of behavior. It's not about objective reporting. It's about pushing a specific political agenda. It's about appealing to the emotions, not the intellect. It's about creating division and fear instead of fostering understanding and unity. The media has a responsibility, and they're failing to deliver on that responsibility and accountability.
And a lot of people came out and supported Donald Trump because they felt like they were being lied to by the current administration. They had a real mistrust of the policies that had been instituted. They were upset about the economy. The border was, and I think he's right, the border was really on people's minds for all of the societal impacts of that. And he broke all of the narratives around it that was coming out of the media and coming out of the Democrats and won this huge victory. I think it's earth-shattering what he did, not just for politics, but the way we as Americans receive and process our political information. He kind of bypassed, in some ways, the mainstream media and went right to these alternative media sources. And it turns out his entire strategy around that was correct.
Now, this isn't just about Trump. This is about media literacy. It's about questioning everything you hear, especially from sources that claim to be unbiased. It's about doing your own research and thinking critically. Don't let any media outlet, left or right, do your thinking for you. So what's the takeaway from all this? CNN and other networks need to check themselves. They need to get back to basics, honest reporting, unbiased analysis, and a commitment to the truth. We, the viewers, also need to be more discerning in the information we consume.
With people who support Donald Trump. It's always back to illegal immigration, but that's not the only thing that we're talking about here. We're talking about the American people. We're talking about taking up arms against them with a military that's supposed to be protecting them.
This is not right. You cannot say Donald Trump is sending the military to round up.
That's what he said.
That is what he is saying, Scott.
That's not what I'm saying.
Totally false.
He said that.
Totally false.
That's what he said.
Scott, Trump.
We were in the fever swamps, Andy. I'm sorry.
What is your dispute here? I'm not even really
because they're saying that he's sending the military to shoot or round up American citizens. We
did not say.
Don't blindly accept what they feed you. We need to demand more from our news sources. That's all for today's episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree? Have you noticed this kind of bias in other news outlets? Share your opinions, and as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Stay caffeinated, stay informed, and stay woke.